Universal Sentai Deca Ranger, translated into English as Special Investigation Squadron Deca Ranger, Deca being a sort of slang word for detective, is the 28th entry into the Super Sentai series. The Earth branch of the Special Police Deca Ranger consists of Deca Red, Deca Blue, Deca Green, Deca Yellow, Deca Pink, Deca Pink being the leader, Deca Yellow being sidekick because she can be, and Deca Green being this awfully, fantastically boring guy who occasionally stands on his head to help him think, and their 6th Ranger, Deca Break, who is just plain boring. But then you've got something that we haven't actually explored yet in superhero time, the concept of an extra ranger. We've briefly mentioned the concept of an extra hero, but this is an extra ranger, and there are 2 of them, Deca Master, Deca Swan. Deca Master being Doggy Kruger, the leader, and detective-in-chief guy, man, of the Deca Ranger branch on Earth, and Deca Swan being their mechanic, whose costume, would you believe it, has the special honour of being the only costume featured in Gokaija that has been featured more in Gokaija than in its source Sentai material.
So with superhero time, I spend a lot of effort trying to explain to my audience what makes good Sentai and what makes bad Sentai. Deca Ranger is an interesting artifact when it comes to what makes good Sentai. I've spent a fair bit of effort with shows like Samurai Sentai Shinkenja and Jun-Kin Sentai Geki Ranger, trying to explain to you what makes good Sentai in terms of the theme. When the theme is very coherent and very well meshed with the narrative, we have good Sentai. But with both of these shows, I haven't quite explained what else makes them good or what makes them bad. Sentai, you see, is on average a show of 50 episodes. Sometimes it's 48, sometimes it's 49, sometimes it's 80. It really depends on the show, but typically you've got a 50 episode show, a 50 episode series. And sometimes that doesn't work out. When you've got a show like Tokumai Sentai Go Busters, which has pretty much 50 episodes of filler, you sort of get an idea of where 50 episodes doesn't work out for a product. But then you've got Shinkenja, which was 50 episodes of pretty much great stuff because all the characters were fantastic. Deca Ranger is great for a completely different reason, but very much related to what I'm talking about here when it comes to the amount of episodes versus filler. Deca Ranger is a police procedural. Think Law and Order, only with a giant robot that, instead of putting you in jail, blows you up. So, episodic formats work very well for Deca Ranger, whereas for other shows it doesn't work so well. You can take a show about police hunting bad guys and make it episodic because you don't really need that cohesive, overarching narrative that you might need in Shinkenja, where a filler episode serves as a distraction. If anything, Deca Ranger is hurt by its attempt to make an overarching plot, because you've got this guy who sort of, I forgot his name, he's like a bat and he's selling things to the bad guys and he ends up being the big bad at the end of the show, and it's ultimately unsatisfying, I think is the best word for it. Deca Ranger worked so well because it was episodic. You could have finished this, the 50th episode could have been arbitrary. Any other episode of the show, just a bad guy who was a little bit more than the other bad guys, a little bit stronger, a little bit more bad perhaps, and it would have been fine. But they tried to make some sort of continuity in a show that sort of thrived on discontinuity, and it was ultimately disappointing. Having said that, Deca Ranger is great and definitely one of the ones you should watch because of the episodic nature of the police procedural. It just, you can pick any episode, watch it any time, and you'll be happy. You don't need to sit down and watch all 50, whereas for a show like Shinkenja or Dai Ranger or Geki Ranger, it works a lot better to watch it all as quickly as possible. I'm not actually tied up. I wanted to buy some handcuffs, but apparently I don't care about the product enough to spend the petrol to drive down to the local costume shop and buy some props. What you gonna do? Bet you bought the illusion though!